Tonight on Politically Incorrect, from Dave's World, Harry Anderson. Peak performer, Tony Robbins. Author, Harlan Ellison. And political commentator, Heather Higgins. And now, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, there is big news today in the abortion debate. I don't know if you followed that, but this is the first time the Senate, our United States Senate, passed a ban on a type of abortion, the partial birth abortion, and it was largely because some of the Democrats switched over, Daschle and Robert Byrd, but Ted Kennedy, stalwart liberal, stuck with the plan, and he said, no, we have to think about the health of the babysitter. I tell you, some of this partisan bickering gets really petty. Now, we have a problem with the UN. We owe them $1 billion. And President Clinton said we would pay this $1 billion to the UN, and the Republicans are now holding it up. They're making, I think, petty demands. They want to trim the UN staff. They want the UN to have regular audits, and they want in the UN cafeteria to name a sandwich after Rush Limbaugh. I think... Well, President Clinton made a bold statement yesterday. He came out against heroin. He did. No, he did. Actually, he was criticizing the fashion industry, because I guess you've been hearing about this. In the fashion industry, they kind of, glorified that look. They called heroin chic, and President Clinton gave him a little scolding. And then Janet Reno held a separate press conference and said that she thought Linda Evangelista should let her bangs grow out. Well, big news for paleontologists, and I think we're all amateur paleontologists. But I think it was in Argentina, yes it was, that they found what they think is a missing link. It was a bird-like dinosaur fossil they think might be the link between birds and dinosaurs, but they don't want to get too excited. They said it might just be Phyllis Diller. And finally, today is a big anniversary. How many were alive in 1927? Anyone here? Couple of youngsters? Well, this is the 70th anniversary of the flight of Charles Lindbergh, which everyone knows about. And to commemorate it, a Texas businessman recreated the whole thing. He did. He left from the exact same spot, flew the exact same route, landed in Paris, where he was greeted with the news that his baby had been kidnapped. She is the executive director of the Council on Culture and Community, and she doesn't have a book. Heather Higgins. Where's your book? Hey, hon. Good to see you. The Washington Post calls him one of the great living American short story writers. His new books are Babylon 5, Slippage, and Volume 3, Edgeworks. Harlan Ellison. How are you? A lot of product. Harlan, how are you? Fine, how are you? He has advised the president, 2 royal families, and sold over 24 million motivational tapes. His latest book is called Unlimited Power, A Black Choice. Tony Robbins. Tony, how are you? All right. Finally, an actor, comedian, magician, and a great big famous TV star from Dave's World, Harry Anderson. Yes, sir. Harry Anderson, how are you, buddy? Okay. Well, I'm glad you're all. This is a good panel to talk about this. Last night we started to talk about Kelly Flynn, who is the B-52 bomber pilot who's going through such a problem lately. But let's talk about the bigger issue there, because this has really brought up for this country the question of what should we do about our military. We have had this experiment going on for about a generation where we've tried to integrate women into the military. But, you know, do we really want Fort Bragg 90210, or do we want...
It's worked for 50 years in the Russian army, and it's worked for 40 years in the Israeli army. They have no problem.
Oh, those are... The Russian army...
Large army.
Large
country.
army.
Big people.
Are you saying that the Army's crap because they're women in it?
No, but...
It depends what you mean by women in the military, because, for example, in Israel, women are in the military, but they're not in combat. They tried that. After 3 weeks, they discovered that it was a huge disaster, because when women are captured or women are left on the battlefield, men tend to react very differently than if another guy is...
You mean they fight harder?
No, they tend to...
Gee, what a drawback.
No, they don't fight harder. They don't fight harder, and and you do find that there are problems with double standards in terms of the weight loads that women carry and so forth. But this problem would have happened anyway, even if you didn't have women in combat, because what we're talking about is not only the adultery, but more particularly the lying to the officers. She could have lied, you know, even if she was in a non-military,
yeah, but I'm talking about the larger issue here. Now, people always compare women in the military. They say, well, you know, for a while, blacks were excluded. But there was no good reason for that. There is a good reason not to have people in the same barracks that you want to shtup.
The Navy has dealt with it for generations. But whatever the problem...
The Navy?
Well, I guess guys at sea have had, you know...
And the women come back
Harvey
pregnant.
Firestein would give you a run for your money on that. Various ways of thinking about each other. But whatever the problem is, can it be solved without it going to a trial for adultery? I mean, isn't that, don't you picture scarlet letters and what is that about?
That happens on the male side, too, and what sounds like is unfair, and I don't know for sure because I haven't heard the details enough, but if this woman is having the same challenge that a male's had, he's been dealt with differently than she has, is what the real issue is. It sounds like, at least how it's being promoted in the news.
Yeah.
So what's fair is fair. You can change the issue to do men and women should they be there, but for this woman, the issue is really fairness.
Part of it's promoted in the news. If it was a guy, they'd give him a condom and send a pat on the back and send him on his way.
Right.
I think... It's a technological age. Women can do a lot of what needs to be done in the service, right? So if you're talking just about...
But we're talking in the integration. It used to be that men and women were separated a lot more than they were.
Right, and one of the reasons that the Marines, for example, have not had the same problems you've had at the Aberdeen Proving Grounds is that they train men and women separately, and women Marines have female drill sergeants and men have men drill sergeants. So it's...
I mean, when I was in college, we couldn't live in the same dorm. Right?
Right, but this is not a draft. This is civil work. I mean,
It's not civil work, man. It's military work.
This is work that the government is offering to its citizens, and you're going to deny it to women? You're going to say...
I'm not denying it. I'm just saying do it the way they used to, where they separate them. Where they don't have...
The job of the military is to win wars, not to provide equal employment opportunity.
Gee, it'd be really easy. All you have to do is put a bell like a cat on every serviceman. Anytime he got near a woman, his bell would ring, and you know...
But, Harry, don't you think the military is too important a thing to let political correctness take over?
I think there's also the reality of how many of these relationships work fine. You're hearing the one aberration, the two aberrations that are promoted in the media. How about all the women right now that are doing
promoted in the media.
Marketed in the media. There's all these women right now that are doing their job, enjoying what they do. They have the advancement they deserve. So who are we to suddenly...
It doesn't mean they can't
But men
advance.
do that too.
I know.
What am I going to argue with you on the women's side?
No, actually, what was interesting, I think we're confusing a couple of issues here, but to go back to that point, she apparently, they knew that she'd been having the affair. They said the same thing they do to guys. Stop having it. Don't see the guy anymore. And she said, okay, I won't. And then she went ahead and did it anyway.
Dude was living in her house.
That's when but his wife was apparently a little upset about this. And his wife was enlisted. You can understand. But the woman was in North Dakota, so you can understand her problem, too.
That's lying and insubordination, and that really isn't that's not a sexual issue. The lying is Jesse Holmes lying?
I think she apparently found it rather bleak and didn't socialize with anyone up there for a long time. And finally found somebody who was interesting to
Well,
her.
they keep calling her an adulterer, and she's not. She's not married. He's an adulterer. She's unmarried.
Correct. But he's not an enlisted person.
God, this is awful, and the voice of rationality tonight. It's very strange.
Well, we'll give you opportunities to do something else if you want.
You know, you would hope that we can get our work done and coexist and save the stuff.
You would hope, but you know what?
And
that's not. But to do something that doesn't conform to human nature.
But it's happening. But it's happening right now. I mean, again, this big discussion that's happening is over a few cases that again have been in the media. How many people every single day, women every single day, are...
How many women are not reporting the drill sergeants that are absolutely abusing them because they're too afraid to report it? You don't know about that
drill
either?
sergeants
well, that happens
on the male side also.
Business outside the military. I mean, that's power. That's not sex. That's just.
But a drill sergeant
power.
has a power over someone that a guy in the office doesn't have.
It's a pretty unique power.
You have men in some offices.
I'll tell you something. If I was a drill sergeant and I did something bad to one of my recruits and they were out in the firing range, I would be very careful not to turn my back.
I don't believe we're talking about this for any other reason.
Okay.
I don't believe that this is in the press for any other reason. It is getting as much attention as it's getting, except for the word adultery. I just think that's so hot that, and I hear it in the morning, and I would know more about this if I kind of fade off from it. I don't want to hear an Arthur Miller play first thing in the morning about.
All right, I have to take a break. We'll come right back.
If you're planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect, call 213-852-2655.
Okay, well, we obviously have some big rights advocates here today, so let me bring this up from the civilian side of it. Now, at the National Restaurant Association trade show this week, which I never miss, by the way, they introduced a new product called Hygiene Guard, which basically is a series of infrared sensors that you can put in bathrooms at hospitals, restaurants, to squeal on employees who do not wash their hands.
Oh, God. I'm for it.
Who are supposed to wash their hands.
I'm for it. I'm for it. Absolutely. I'll tell you something. I was at O'Hare Airport recently, and I washed my hands. I did my thing. Next to me was a guy who whipped his wand, and then he kind of started walking out. And so I said to him, hey. And he goes, whoa, whoa. And I said, would you like to wash your hands instead of spreading germs? He says, you know, screw you, is basically what he told me. So I said, hey, king of the pig people, come back and wash your hands. He walks out. I followed him down the damn aisle. I'm out. This man did not wash his hands. Don't shake hands with this man.
And you don't need this device, Harlan.
I was going to say, I don't think you need all the technology. Just put a video camera in there, right? I don't know if you saw, but the other night on Late Night Cable, they had some show on where they have hidden cameras about what people do at work. And when no one knows what they're doing. And these are people I'm worried about. You need a penis guard, because this guy got out, he was mad at his boss, and he whipped it out, he just drank a bunch of beer, and filled the coffee.
Yeah, I saw that.
He did it 5 days in a row, and
Tony,
people drinking for 5 days.
motivational. I don't know.
And then they caught him.
You need to think positively about that.
Yeah,
They did a survey about 3-4 months ago, and they said something like, it's only 35% of all men wash their hands.
Can I tell you where that survey
I
came
wash
from?
my hands before I touch myself. I mean, that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
The survey on which they're basing the data, which is sort of amusing, was done by the American Society of Microbiologists, who basically hid in public restrooms observing 6,000. They hid in Penn Station. They hid at the Atlanta Braves game watching these guys coming in and out from the stands at Golden, and that's where they got the data from. This is not exactly a representative sample of the
You're in
restaurant.
an airport, you're in a stadium. I don't care about those people, what they do. I'm not going to touch those people. We're talking about restaurant employees
That's
who are
my
making hand, pizza with their hands.
It's a Seinfeld episode. It's a Seinfeld episode.
It's not the same thing.
But isn't this every 13-year-old boy's ultimate fear, that somebody's going to know what he's doing in the bathroom? I mean, doesn't this just go too deep into our psyche? I mean, maybe some things we just have to live with the doubt, you know?
take a break. We'll come back. Okay, continuing with our theme of rights. Now, Harry, you've said you are for people serving you food with pee on their hands. That's fine. What do you think about mothers who who leave their babies outside of restaurants unattended?
I'm livid. I'm simply livid.
This was a big news story. This woman, I think she is from Denmark, right?
Denmark.
Okay. She's from Denmark, lives in New York, married to a New Yorker. And she left the baby outside of a restaurant in the stroller because in Denmark, apparently that's what they do.
In line of sight, though. The baby was in line of sight. They would
No, I don't think it actually was.
That's what I heard.
She claimed it was, but I think they didn't.
But not
It
a
was outside
line
checked
of
on
sight
it.
to her, but to others.
To muggers.
Whatever it was. By the way, the baby...
Mad cabby.
The baby...
I think it's amazing that the Danish press has gotten across in their promotion that New York City is a really comfortable place to hang out in. I love New York City, but some people chain their trash cans down so you can leave your kid out there. But I also think if you look at it, you know, in this country now, people get put in jail for leaving their dog in the car, you know, on a hot day. So I think if you're in a position where you leave your child out there, there needs to be some responsibility. But I think you got to look at responsibility and humanity, and she should have gotten a warning or some kind of communication.
But in her
or something.
country, I mean, it's one of those...
That's why you mitigate it by custom. I mean, you know, in France, you can take your pet into the restaurant and, you know, breastfeed it at the table. I may have heard that improperly, but that's the way I understand it. And so whatever you do, if you mitigate it with some, you know, I mean,
She was trying to be
this is a
serious.
solution. The mother separates herself from the baby, so the solution is arrest her.
She said she was trying to be courteous. The child wanted to smoke. So
But do you think we should do that for every custom? Do we just not judge?
Oh, no, you just don't throw people in the can. Talk to them, you know, explain this.
We ought to beat the crap out of the restaurant people who call the cops.
There you go, of course.
What a bunch of stick up the backside people they are.
No, I'd like to disagree.
I disagree.
In fact, I think this whole issue has gotten sort of confused because it's actually two separate questions. The first question is, do foreigners who are visiting our country, are they subject to our laws? And the answer is, generally speaking, yes, they should be. Were they overzealous in this case? Yes. Should it be handled with more delicacy? Yes. But the second question is, is this particular custom appropriate? Was it appropriate for people to be concerned about the children or the child in the stroller outside at 55 degrees on a New York City street with no apparent attendance? I would say yes, because laws and practices are relevant to their particular location, and metropolitan areas are much more dangerous than...
She was also communicated to, though, several people in the restaurant asked her, would you please take a look at your baby, and from what I understand, she just rejected it. That's why they got angry.
How about the fact that they say this is what they do in Denmark? It's stupid in Denmark, too. It's stupid...
It's melancholy. Here it's stupid. It's melancholy.
Is it stupid to leave a baby unattended? Even if you're not in New York, where obviously...
Look, I live in New York. I have a 6-month-old. I would never leave her unattended. But apparently in Denmark, they put these kids under big quilted blankets.
Would you do it in Denmark? Are the Danish that
No,
much
but what's interesting is
more evolved?
There are different communities where people do feel that they can just run into a store and leave the baby outside because they know everyone in the neighborhood, everyone else is looking out for the baby. The baby's all bundled up. It would get hot if you took it inside. It's all dressed for being outside.
It's not just Denmark. In fact, I think it was Diane Sawyer was talking about, she was in, was it Paris or Rome a couple of weeks ago, and everybody was doing it there, too. It's fairly common in Europe.
Well, a warning would have been appropriate, but, you know, you got to look at this thing and say, what does it give you? What can you pull from it? And I think when your kids say you're neglecting them, say you're Danish.
It's like the Flynn case. There's no one in middle management who does it and is sensible. They always go to the extreme.
But are European babies so sophisticated? That they themselves do not run into trouble at 6 months?
Maybe Europeans wouldn't accost the baby as quickly as some of us in our country.
But forget about even a bad guy coming up to the baby. Doesn't the baby itself have problems? I don't have babies. I never had one. But don't they puke and gurgle and do stuff that...
They do.
Can't they get into trouble on their own?
Well, and then in theory, you know, in theory...
So does Jesse Helms, but they keep him in Congress.
a town of 3,500 people in Washington. Nice little town. I would leave my kid, now he's 11, but my son, when he was younger, I would have left him outside to play outside a market when he was younger than I would have left him in L.A.
In Washington, D.C.?
No, Washington State.
Oh, I was going to say, my God, Mayor Barry could come by and give the kids... All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, throw up Joan Rivers, Fred Willard, Jason Gunn, and Joseph Perkins. I only have a few seconds, so I want to ask you, you're a magician. Do you see any comparison between what you do and what a magician does? Seriously.
Think positively.
I just think that most people have illusions about what it takes to make their life work, and it's really